Hello everyone and welcome back to Charlie Talks Football. So, it's been a really disappointing window so far for Newcastle, but it's nice to have you back in the videos, Dad, and we've got the nice background at the minute because we're currently on holiday, but let's get into the video. So, on the Isak situation, he's currently training alone, isn't he, at Real Sociedad's training ground. So I just want to know what are your thoughts on that, because in my opinion, I think it's been a bit disrespectful to Newcastle.
Yeah, the player's contracted to the club, and for him to go and train with Real Sociedad in Spain is a disgrace. You know, I wouldn't go into work on Monday and say I want to move to a different company and I'm not working and I'm going to train somewhere else. That's not on. Same as Visa at Brentford, he's refused. I know we want him, but you know, you're contracted to that club, so just go and train with them and wait until a deal can be done if it can, because it's not on. And I'm a bit disappointed and annoyed with Isak for that, because he's been a fantastic servant for us, but it's not the right way to go about things. What do you feel, Charlie?
Well, I think I do agree with you. I think it is pretty disrespectful because, like you said, look, we fully understand that he wants to leave the club. He wants to join Liverpool. That's been made clear by many reliable and northeast journalists. But he's still got 3 years left on his deal at Newcastle, and even if you do want to leave, could you not just join the club in pre-season or even just train at Newcastle's training ground? So I think it is, to be honest, I have turned on Isak a bit. I did like him, but I do think the way he's handled this is wrong. I also think the timing of it is wrong. The fact that I think he could have told Newcastle if he really wanted to leave, he could have told us a lot earlier.
It depends as well what the club have said, because the club Eddie Howe might not want a grumpy player around the club, and they're saying he's got an injury, so a thigh injury, which is alleged.
It isn't true,
but he should still be with the club rehabilitating if he has got an injury. But he might have an agreement with the club to be away in Sweden in Spain and Sociedad until things get sorted. But for me, it's bad crack from Isak. And the same for Visa at Brentford. He's gone into training, I think yesterday or today, and he hasn't trained and he's gone home, told them he wants to leave, which is fair enough. But it's not the right way to go about things. But we're being linked with lots of players, Charlie. What's the latest on Sesko?
But I just wanted to quickly ask, do you think Isak will end up leaving this summer?
Yes, I do think he'll leave this summer. Yeah, Isak will leave and he'll go to Liverpool, unless we can't get a replacement in.
It's been a bit of a poor window, hasn't it? We've missed out on several targets. And what do you think on that? Do you think it's the club's fault, or do you think it's just the way things have gone?
I think the players will come to it, but if another team comes in that turns the heads, they'll go to them. Sesko could go to Man United. He still could come to Newcastle. That's a possibility. But, you've got to remember, Newcastle if Isak goes, we need 2 centre forwards. So some of the players we're looking at, some Newcastle fans are disappointed, but they'll be to replace Wilson, not to Isak. Some players will replace Isak. A player, it could be the likes of Sesko, but the likes of Visa and maybe Strand Larson, who have been linked out today, could potentially be to replace Wilson. Yeah,
let's get into the Strand Larson stuff. Craig Hope is reporting he's one of the new strikers on the list for Newcastle. And this shows we must be getting a bit desperate, because I think he's someone who we would have never looked at in this situation. But it's actually saying, because me and you were just discussing before we came on to do this video, we thought he'd be a replacement for Wilson, but it looks like the club, Newcastle, actually see him as being a replacement for Isak, which is something that surprises me a lot.
To me, Charlie, I've watched him play a lot. I watched him play in Espanyol before he went to Wolves. He has improved, he has got better, but he is nowhere near a replacement for Isak. He would be not even really a replacement for Wilson. I know how he can develop players, but he's not fast. He's a big target man. Technically not great. He has improved. I'm not having a go at him, but to me, he's not a Newcastle United player, and personally, I wouldn't want him unless how really thinks he likes something he can see that he can improve with him. But for me, I wouldn't want him at Newcastle.
To be fair, in his defence, he has scored 14 goals this season in 38 games, which isn't that bad, considering he's played for Wolves.
That is a good record, so I will give him that. But I don't think he necessarily fits the profile of player
Fair
we go
enough.
for. So personally, I don't think he would end up at Newcastle. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Apparently, Sesko is still deciding. He's speaking to his family, his agents, whether to go to Newcastle or whether to go to Man United. And I think we should know in the next 48 hours.
Well, I think he will reject us. I don't know why, you know, he would join Newcastle, to be honest with you, because I think, you know, Man United is probably a club who, you know, his head's been turned by. So I think it will be difficult. Craig Hope said there's a feeling now that he will join Man United, but I think that's been our feeling, but we'll just have to wait and see who he, you know, decides to join.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Newcastle are prepared to pay the fee Leipzig want? They're prepared to meet the terms that the player wants. Everything's sorted on that side, and they're just waiting now. So, you know, he's waiting to see what Man United offer or whether they can make the payments. But bear this in mind, he has a gentleman's agreement with Leipzig that he can join the club he wants if the fee is right. So Man United could even get him for less than Newcastle if he really wants to go there.
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting situation, you know, also looking at Nicholas Jackson. Now, in my opinion, as much as, you know, people criticise Jackson, I do think that he's a lot better player than Strand Larsen is.
I do, yeah, he's better, he offers more than that, so I prefer Nicholas Jackson to Strand Larsen, but I don't think the links to Strand Larsen will be genuine. If they are, I'd be shocked.
I mean, Craig Hope is reliable, to be fair.
Well, maybe sometimes, but we're going to be linked with lots of centre forwards, aren't we, when we're looking for a replacement, so he's just another name in the hat, but I don't think he'll be a serious contender.
In the Wiese situation, I know we talked about that a bit earlier. He's told Brentford he definitely wants to leave and sign for Newcastle. And, you know, it doesn't look like he's going to train, even though he has showed up. So do you think that's a deal that could happen later on in the window?
It is. I mean, he's trying to force a deal, but Brentford are very stubborn and they'll only accept what they feel right for the player, and they'll want to get a replacement first because they've lost Mbeumo already, so they don't want to lose both players. So they will need a replacement first before they'll sell Wiese, and it'll have to be for the right price. I think about 40 million, but we'll just have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, Sesko will choose Newcastle, but we don't know, we'll see. And with this Isak situation, I think I'd rather it gets done as soon as possible, just so we can, you know, like invest the money in other areas. Yeah,
we need to move quick because we need to get Isak sorted. He either stays for the season or he goes to Liverpool. You know, I think the only team he wants to go to is Liverpool, so get the deal done if we've got a replacement. If not, he stays for another season. And that's it, sorted. I just wanted to say as well, before we end off this video, I have seen some reports that Newcastle could potentially block Isak's, leaving, Isak's departure from the club this summer, because of course if we can't get Sesko and he goes to Man United, then this could potentially mean that Isak stays. But what's your opinion on that? If he goes, we need an adequate replacement, but you're not going to get any player currently out there as good as Isak because he's one of the best, so we need to get someone who's decent like Sesko, and I would have him and then I would let Isak go. But if we can't get anyone in as good as Sesko, then we need to keep Isak for another season and tell him and just say, you're contracted to us, you can't go yet.
It's a bit of a shame because I feel like, you know, he's obviously a fan favourite for what he's done for the club, you know, scoring in the Carabao Cup final, but it's a bit of a shame how this might end up, and I will admit, I will be completely honest with you guys, I do feel a bit disappointed with how Isak himself handled the situation.
Not good, Charlie, and you know, it's just the way it is, and things can change quickly. After qualifying for the Champions League and winning our first cup in 70 years, we'll find ourselves in this position, so we need it resolved quickly, and we need to resolve it, you know, for the best interests of the club. If Isak's really unhappy and we can get a replacement, get them in, get him out. If not, like I've said, stay for another season.
Yeah, and so let us know your thoughts, guys, on, you know, Strand Larsen. Do you think Isak will end up going to Liverpool? Do you think he might stay at Newcastle for one more year? Let us know all your thoughts as well. And I just wanted to mention, pre-season hasn't really been going great for Newcastle so far. That's 3 straight losses in a row. Losing to Arsenal, Celtic, and then the K-League All-Stars team. But that player who was signed from Korea, he looks all right. You know,
he had a good dribble down the line. He had good agility and balance. So fingers crossed he'll be good. I think he'll stay with the under-21s or go out on loan. But you know, he's one obviously for the future.
So thanks for watching, and Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Bye bye.
Bye.